Sam, we need to introduce ourselves in these first 5 minutes before the event starts. So I'll go first. My name is Thais Santos. I'm originally from Brazil and I recently turned Dutch. So yeah, I'm a Dutch national now for living in the Netherlands for so long. And what about you, Sam?
My name is Sam. My pronouns are she, her. I live in Toronto, and I first started on this journey with Into Design Systems as a guest speaker at last year's online conference. And we've got a big announcement about this year's online conference coming up today, as well as an open application for anyone who might be interested in participating, which is very exciting.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, I was looking for Toronto. Like my map knowledge of Canada is really bad. So I first clicked on the other comment and I was like, oh no, wait, Toronto is a little bit more to the left. So yeah.
Toronto might not even be there. I should have maybe looked at it on the map. My geography skills are absolutely crap, but I know I can see the big lake from when I walk down the street. So I've got to be somewhere in and around that area.
Nice. Yeah, so feel free to share where you are at right now. I know that there are some Brazilians in the call. Welcome from Brazil, I guess, or you might be living in Europe at this point. We tend to go everywhere, Brazilians. I noticed that's for sure. And yeah, feel free to share what you would like in this Miro board, exciting Miro board. And we're about to go live in the live conference or in the live room. Let's see how they're going. Oh, we have somebody in Argentina, but being originally from Brazil. Nice.
I can see the participants in real life through the reflection on that glass, and the room looks just buzzing. I'm kind of jealous I'm not there. I miss the in-person stuff, but then also I'm very happy to be in my cozy space.
Indeed. Oh, it sounds like Sil is about to start. So let's see.
What a nice space here at Volvo Cars. It's our second event outside of Munich. We usually do it in Munich in person, so we didn't know what to expect, but we are overwhelmed by the interest. And thank you so much, everyone, for attending. If there are any introverts, we as designers, most of us are introverts. If you don't have anybody to talk to, please come to us. So happy to have a conversation with you. We are all the hosts are introverts and pretty nervous tonight. It's our first hybrid event, so there is also a live stream going on. But happy to be here and welcome. So my name is Sil. I'm the founder of Into Design Systems, a side project I started 3 years ago in my living room because I was struggling with, naming components, setting out the layout. Why does everything look like shit? This is just a simple card. And I'm too stupid to set up auto layout. What the fuck? And also back then I was working as a freelance design systems lead, and all the clients were asking me, hey, Sil, can you come up with the roadmap? We need a new budget for the design system. And I was so overwhelmed. And then I was like, scrolling through hundreds of Medium articles all night. And then I was thinking, why not bring together all these experts so we can learn from them? So there is a huge community around design systems. And Into Design Systems, it's not just me. There are many design system friends. Here you can see 2 years ago, we streamed together from Berlin. So there were more people telling me, hey, this is so cool what you do. Can I help you? You can stream at our house. So for example, Marco, who came here from Vienna last conference, we streamed from Vienna from his house. Then there are people reaching out. I can take photos. I can help you with the live stream. And it's really, really cool to have such a community. So thank you to all the hosts and supporters. This wouldn't be possible without you. And of course, also, we have our online hosts, Sam and Thais. So they're live on Zoom right now. We don't know what's going on online. Hopefully everything works, but hello. And yeah, of course, thank you also to our speakers. We have 4 amazing speakers. showing their design system work. And we are so happy that there are so many people willing to share their knowledge with the design system community. So first of all, we have Tiago, who has helped me a lot with this meetup. Please say hi.
Hello, everyone, and hello online. So my name is Tiago. Him. This is me. I'm just gonna move forward. I'm a design ops specialist at a large Swedish fashion brand. That's all I can say. And when Sylvia says that I helped organize this is what I think about. I did nothing. I just came here even today. It's like, oh, everything's working, amazing. My job is done. All good. No, all good. So I pretty much just helped find the venue, and that was pretty much it. And this is the product placement part. I run something called Swedish Design Systems.se, which is this design systems directory with, I'm trying to have like the most comprehensive information about design systems in Sweden. That means there is a directory of systems, a job board, events, anything that I can think of. You're welcome to visit, and that's pretty much my advertising part. I'm gonna move on to Andresa.
Hello, everyone. Hi, online. I'm Andresa. You can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram as Andresa Lombardo. I've actually separated 3 facts to share, 3 quick facts about me. First off, you see this little memoji here has a beret. I actually have a collection of berets, and I wear them maybe 99% of the time. And today is not one of them because I flew here from Ireland. That's the second fact about me. I'm based in Ireland, in Dublin, and I forgot to pack any beret. So I'm not feeling like myself, only 80%. And 12 is there for 2 reasons. So 12 is the number of years that I've been in working in the design industry, which also gives away that in fact, a millennial. And 12 is also the age that I was when I got my first tattoo. I have a lot of tattoos you can't see, but the first one I got was when I was 12 years old. Not sure how I pulled that off. Also a big design system enthusiast and nerd. I work as a principal systems designer at teamwork.com. I also teach design systems at Memorizely, which you may recognize from Superfast. I also host. I've been really fortunate to host the Into Design Systems conference this year and a few of the meetups online and in person. So currently I am a host, but this is also my audition to be a speaker. So for next year, maybe. And the very odd time I'll create some videos. Maybe you came across some of my videos on Memorizely's socials. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. One last thing that I wanted to share, it's just a little secret. So if you watched the Into Design System conference earlier this year, or any of the meetups you may have seen, Sil looking very proper, like you can see in that photo, very serious, introducing all the speakers, talking about this amazing conference. But this is what we look like on the behind the scenes. So next time you're watching, you best believe that we will be wearing socks and slippers. So this is an amazing conference and it's an amazing community. So if you haven't joined this year, make sure to join our next one coming up next year. So Sil is going to tell you a little bit more about the conference.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. So yeah, I'm so happy to have so many supporters and hosts. Let's have a look quickly have a look what Into Design Systems is. How many of you did attend one of our previous meetups? Yeah. How many of you did attend the conference, our big annual conference? Yeah. Okay, there are some more people to convince. So what is Into Design Systems? We do meetups online, in person. So our home base is in Munich. Now we are kind of traveling around Europe and doing more meetups to meet more design system friends. It's a very casual, friendly event. Everybody's welcome. First-time speakers, we love first-time speakers. We're always there to help you. We're all introverts and pretty nervous, as you can see. But there's also into design systems online where we bring people online. So people sharing their knowledge. We also have a Miro board where we call it the introvert-friendly networking, where you can leave sticky notes. You don't have to talk to anybody. You can still network. That's kind of perfect. And to give you an idea, some of our previous speakers, you might also recognize some of them. We have Carolina over here. Thank you so much for speaking at one of our first conferences and to believing in this initiative. We were very small back then. There were like 100 attendees. Now there are more than 800 attendees. So it grew quickly. So we are very thankful for all the people sharing their knowledge. And yeah, people really liked our conference. We got a lot of good feedback. So we have decided to host our fifth Design Systems conference. It's our big annual conference. If you have some educational budget left for next year, feel free to join us. That's how we finance kind of this meetup. So if you want to support us, the next conference will be about AI, of course. AI, automation of design systems, real design system examples, not just talking. We really want to see some examples and how experts work in the day-to-day life, not just many slides and concepts. We really want to open the design tool Figma and see how it's structured and how people do their work, scalable design systems, theming and design tokens. So there are some limited tickets and I'm really bad at selling, but if you want to support us and if you're interested in design systems, feel free to spend next year's educational budget to buy a ticket. And of course, if you want to support us, please spread the word because that's how our community can grow and we can make more friends. So last slide, to connect the offline world here with online, we usually have a Miro board and there are many, many people in the Miro board. Marco? Yeah, there are 600 people in this Miro board. Oh, shit. Yeah, a lot of curses. So hello to everybody online. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy this event and hope to see you soon online in the Miro board. So feel free to scan the QR code and join the online world. And with that, thanks once again. If there are any introverts, feel free to talk to me and let's have a conversation. And now it's time for a lot of great content. Thank you once again for coming and supporting us. And let's give it up to Alex and Melissa from Volvo Cars.
Everyone, I'm Alex, and I'm just another design manager looking for people to hire. And you might have met me in the entrance there, but if you didn't, feel free to grab some pizza. I noticed I ordered way too much. So if you want, you can grab something when you go home as well. But we are super happy to have you here. And at Volvo Cars, design is core. It's been part of it since the start of Volvo, almost 100 years ago. And we are mostly represented from the UX team within design here today. And what we do is we create delightful and unified experiences throughout our product suite. And we do that in, I would say, 4 key areas. Forgot. We are about 130 people. Melissa here, she will have an epic talk after me here. And I've been here for almost a year. And I think what stands out to me, mainly with Volvo Cars, except all the fun work, is all the great people. I've never been to a company where everyone is so nice, so fun to work with, which I think is a real benefit. But we have the Learn and Shop area, which is our website and our e-commerce, kind of learning about the cars, and eventually, when you realize it's a very epic car, you buy it. But before that, of course, we have, our car UX team that designs kind of the infotainment system in the cars, the steering wheel, and kind of the UX within the cars. And then we have the daily usage, which is products that are kind of outside of the car, but still once you have actually got your car. So the mobile app is an example, and we are the ones that are hiring the designers for our design system team. And then we have an assistant support where Melissa works, and they have some few different clusters, but they are mainly supporting our retailers and service agents and having more internal tooling to make those processes more smooth and easy for both our partners, but eventually in the end also our customers. And you can scan this code if you are interested to see the open positions. Or you can come up to me as well. And yeah, I can tell you more about it. But my talk is very short. So enjoy the night. And like I said, feel free to grab some pizza when you leave if you want, or during the night. And have a great evening.
Hello. Thanks to you, Alex, for the selling pitch of the company. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here at our amazing offices. Happy and nervous to be the first one talking today, but okay, let's see how it goes. A little bit about myself before we start. For those of you who don't know me, I see a couple of familiar faces. My name is Melissa. I'm from Mexico. I recently moved to Sweden in the middle of January this year, so it's my first time here. And I've been a designer for about roughly 11 years or so, mostly working with B2B and B2C companies on the e-commerce world. My previous position, I was part of the HP team back in Mexico. I'm working with what we call then the online shopping worldwide UX team as part of the design system, what we call Stellar. I was the team lead for that. And then in my current role at Volvo Cars, as Alex said, I'm working in what we call the commercial digital area. And under that area, in the system support, where we have more like our enterprise set of products, digital products, I work on the fulfillment and fleet clusters. And I'm also leading on the design side, the initiative for the EDLS design system that caters for those enterprise products. The full name of this talk today included like, it will be better this time. This is more like a optimistic statement on my end as I was reflecting back on some of the learnings that I have from my previous experience and my current experience at HP. So hopefully some of these learnings you can relate to and you can take something back to your projects, to your teams and your companies. So let's dive in. I divided the three topics in the conversation into three main topics. The first one, it's around the context of advocacy, what that means, getting the buy-in to invest in the design system, right? I think all of us who work on the design system field know what that is. It's been said that regardless of the mature level of your system, you're always selling the design system, right? So in HP, at the time when I started to work on the design system area, I was part of the local US online store team, and then we merged into the worldwide team. At the time, the team in Spain had already delivered an end-to-end design that was going to be the vision, the new look and feel for all the online shopping experience across the HP store globally. So I thought, perfect. That's and the idea was to roll out that design in all the other markets that we were in, right? So I thought that's perfect. We need to scale the design. We need to make it consistent experience across the different regions, and we want to expedite design. We want to expedite delivery. It's we need a design system, right? No brainer there. And when I started to talking about it, of course, selling the idea. A little bit of context is that there wasn't a lot of knowledge about what design systems were, how to work with them, both on the product side, on the business side, not even in the design team, really. No, none of the designers had really worked with one or knew how to go about building one. Needless to say, there wasn't a real desire to start working on it. And there was basically no baseline, right? Just the end-to-end design, which is for the store, the look and feel. So in here, the conversations around advocacy were pretty much about selling from zero, right? What it is, why do we need one, what is the value that it adds, and in here, as you can see, project managers, product managers, I created a project charter for designers. What do we mean? We need to create components and patterns. What are those? And even high-level conversations, right? Okay, what Lego blocks and how do you build that? And then you build something else, like all these analogies and concepts. So different contexts and different stakeholders, right? And then when I joined Volvo Cars, totally different scenario. In here, of course, there was a lot of knowledge, a lot of people coming, for other companies like Spotify, Klarna, places where they have worked with very mature design systems, both on design, engineering, and product as well. So there was a high desire to scale the system that we have. And to be fair, I hope I don't angry any one of my peers. Calling it a design system feels like a little bit of an overstatement, and kind of a little bit stretched. What we really had was a couple of shared libraries on the design side, and we have a community-based project on the code side, and our one repo there. Like, you would argue if that's really a design system. So I'd say there was some baseline already, but I think the conversation here around advocacy was more of aligning. What do we mean when we say design system? And is it really solving the problems that a design system should solve, right? Because we have different things here and there, not a formal process to really call it a design system, in my opinion, at least. So as you can see here, a couple of things that we already have. So the conversations there were like, okay, what is in the library? What do we need to fix there? What's in the code? Who designed this and who structured it? And then we formed more like a design system council about all the people that were working on these things related, starting to talk about it and aligning. So yeah, coming from very different contexts, what are really hard to compare in some points, but I think some of the problems were very similar in a way. And I wanted to summarize it in a couple of learnings, as you can see here. The first one is about tailoring the message according to your audience, right? You just see the different conversations that I had to have. Okay, what does a product manager care about? What does an engineer care about? What does the designer care about the design system? What does value mean for them? And what can they expect from it? The second topic is talk to as many people as you can, get the full story. A little bit of a side story in here. When I was working at HP, I was doing all these conversations, trying to get the buy-in, training and coaching the designers on the topic. And then a couple months into the project, we were doing, design all Europe market and that Europe team. So when I joined, I was like, no, this is what we have. We have a React storybook, and this is what we an open contribution model, right?
One second.
Sorry. It's live stream.
Should I start singing in the meantime? Nobody wants to hear that. Thank you. Yeah, so at HP, as I said, when I started to working on it, it was two other designers and myself working on it, doing the audits, trying to build the first foundation of what we thought about, typography, colors, components. about 50% of our time, as we were also working with our product teams and our product experiences that we needed to develop. And about 5-6 months in, I was able to get the buy-in to have a dedicated team. And that's when we have like 3 designers focusing solely on design system topics, and me as the team lead for that. Like the 3-headed dragon says it all. And then in HP, to quote Nathan Curtis, he talks about centralized and federated teams. And I think in Volvo, it's a little bit early to define the ways of working coming in. But I would say, yeah, we have a community-based project on one side for the engineering, and on design, we have like a couple of sporadic contributions here and there from the people that like the topic, that like to contribute. A lot of the baseline was mostly done by a couple of products that the designers work under the same team, so they kind of align this like organically of what later on became the system. But we want to take that to a more formal setup, like an actual contribution model where everyone can come in. Because when you look at the setup that we have on the system support area, like we mentioned, it's a lot of topics. We have care, assistance, car service, fulfillment. It's very different topics with very different products landscapes. And also each product has their own engineering teams and ways of working, right? So and here it became really clear to me that from the get-go, we needed this model to enable us to start working in a better way. Otherwise, we will become a bottleneck straight away when we start working with it. So to make a little bit of a comparison on where the learnings here and there, I think with the centralized team, we gain a lot of expertise. I mentioned I was able to get a team. I didn't say it was an expert team. They were new to the topic. They didn't know about design systems. They didn't know how to build components, but we gain a lot of expertise. They gain a lot of craftsmanship on how to build components as well. We were able to focus on the system, so that also gave us room to talk about things like process and documentation and communication models, things like that. That is kind of really hard if you don't have a set of people focusing on it. But we were also just 3-4 of us, right? So we were really slow in delivery sometimes. And I think we lost a little bit of the connection with the product teams as well. Like they were working on this, global release of the design. So they were going to the next market, introducing a lot of change in what we already had established. And they were basically needing every day, like, I need more from the component. I need more scalability. I need this, I need this, I need this. So there was a lot of things going, and I think it harmed a little bit our performance in that sense. And if we look at right now, like I said, we're currently early stages defining what we need to be. But I think what you get from a federated team is that you're just still have that link to the product teams and what their needs, what they're going through. They can have like the vision of what's coming for them in the future. And you can focus a lot on alignment here. Okay, what do we need together? But it's also a trade-off in terms of capacity. They have to still work with their product teams. And on the engineering side, there may be some people that can contribute, but it's not really the actual focus 100% to build the design system. They have other needs to do. And the last topic that I wanted to discuss is around prioritization. How are the roadmap and priorities defined for the system? I think in here, it's pretty similar on both setup. I think it's very product driven. The product, what they need, it's kind of what's driving what we should do. As you can see here is a really quick example how many changes we would introduce at HP in a given week. So you see, it's really hard to maintain. Once you set something out, it's really hard to maintain it. And I think what we want to get to in the end is, yes, we hear you, we hear the product needs, but we want to also be an autonomous team. Like the design system needs to be its own thing as well. It's a product on its own. So in my opinion, you can call me on this, systems should be created based on product requirements, but not driven by them. And that's one of the conversations that we had to have, one of those difficult conversations. Okay, what do we do now with the setup that we have, and what do we need to build later for the future of the system? So I think the learnings here were, first, define and align on value creation is very important. When is it going to be perceived? how will it be created, and what does it mean for all of us that are going to be using this, right? Plan for the short term and the long term, like product needs versus system needs. You need to understand them both, but to be able to balance them. And embracing the chaos. Got to focus on the long term. I think as you're building the first phase of it, it's going to be a struggle. There's going to be duplication, lack of documentation. There's going to be a lack of alignment in some areas. Some people will not agree. Some people will not on board, will not adopt. You got to be okay with it in order to focus on the long term. Okay, yes, it's ugly and messy in the beginning, but it will get better next time, right? So I think it's something that I wanted to also include. So to summarize, if I can leave you with a couple of notes from this brief jabbering, it's on the terms of advocacy, tailor the message to your audience, set clear expectations on what it is or not, when and how it adds value, and talk to as many people as you can. And in terms of team setup and collaboration, think about the setup that suits your team and your company best, and review it in terms of pros and cons when it comes to velocity, expertise, and collaboration. And in prioritization, try to separate the product needs from the design system needs while you plan for the long term, but embracing the chaos of the short term. And that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we have a few minutes for questions if anyone had any. Don't be shy. As Phil said, this is an introvert friendly event. No judgment. No. Any questions from online?
Looks like a bot.
Yeah. Sure.
Which one? I think at HP, I just love it so much. We sweated it. It was nice. It was my first baby, that I didn't mind. But in the end, it became a struggle of me versus the product teams. And I didn't like that because we were part of one team. And somewhere we got a little bit lost in that. It's like, but I need this. Yeah, but do you really need it? And it's like, and then I was torn between, do I favor the designers or do I favor the engineers that are going to come back and scream at me because why did you introduce so much change, right? So I think that was the part that in the end that kind of like hurt the most. Yes, and then Volvo, we'll see. We'll see what we do with it. Thank you. Are we reading the question?
There's quite a few. Yeah. What were the biggest milestones of
What were the biggest milestones of the Volvo design system so far? Good question. What are our milestones? First, fixing it, fixing the issues. I mean, to be fair, it's not the only design system, of course. We are in the enterprise world, but there's also the web, the mobile platforms, the more like the consumer-facing products that also have a very much more mature systems, I would say. So when the designers came in, there was no leadership either, not from me, from other sides. So they were kind of grabbing stuff from everywhere. So we find going to the design system, design files, and it's like they're grabbing stuff from everywhere. So we had to clean that up in order to have one unified source for everything that was enterprise. And I think we're still doing that. And then it's having a formal collaboration and contribution model with engineering and design. I forgot to mention, it was part of the talk, but engineer moves a lot faster than design, of course. They have more people, so we have to catch up.
Yeah, I think we can keep it.
Thank you. Yeah, the question is, do I store the single source of truth somewhere in terms of design or? Yeah, we're trying to have the single Figma library for that. And that's the one that we're trying to clean up at the moment. I have so many stories. I'll share pizza with you. Thank you.
Return again. First hybrid event. Thank you so much, Melissa, and thank you, Alex. Just let's give it up for Melissa and Alex before we introduce you. I mentioned briefly that I teach a design system bootcamp, and while in theory I'm there teaching the practice, I actually learn a lot about design systems from designers from all across the world, from their different challenges and challenges setting up or establishing a design system culture within their organization, or trying really hard promoting, driving adoption, maintenance. Once you've established that culture, how do you maintain the culture and the assets you've built? And what I always like to say is that really there isn't this one size fits all, or there isn't a single formula that works for everybody when it comes to design systems. But we can certainly learn from people, from their journeys, for what has worked for them and what hasn't worked. And our next guest actually has been on this journey for a while, and I believe he can share a lot about it, particularly on building cross platform design systems, and I guess design systems at a large scale. He currently leads design system at Spotify engineering. So also worked for, it feels weird that I'm talking about you and you're right here. Yeah. So this person that you don't know who it is. Yeah. In when I was practicing this, he wasn't here. He worked also for BBC Sports, I believe, with their great design system team there, Gel, and I believe he's also a parent to a very cute bug called Ned. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, no more introduction needed. This is Shaun Bent. I'll pass it on to you. Thanks, Shaun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for that introduction. And thank you for giving me the opportunity, Sil, to come and guest Tiago as well, to come and talk today. Super exciting to be here. Who knew there were this many design system nerds in Stockholm? Where have you all been hiding? So yeah, I'm Shaun. There was a lot of talk about designers. I'm not a designer. I'm an engineering manager at Spotify. I took the really long walk from just over there. As you can tell from my incredibly northern English accent, I am not Swedish. I moved to Stockholm 7 years ago to work for Spotify. Spent about a year working on the desktop client, but for the last 6 years, I've been working in the design system space. And before joining Spotify, I spent 3 years working at the BBC in the UK. Worked on their sport website, also worked on their online events platform, but I spent a bunch of time working with the Gel team on their design system. I helped them make their kind of first steps into the world of reusable code. So today is November 14th, 2023, and I want to start by just rewinding a little bit, and I want to rewind all the way back to November 14th, 2019. This is exactly 4 years ago today. And it was on that day, 4 years ago today, that I spoke about how we were reimagining design systems at Spotify at the Design System London conference. That's me. It was here where we first spoke about our new design system that we were building at Spotify and what we were calling Encore. We talked about how we were building a family of design systems instead of this single monolith, a system of systems. We'd have multiple smaller focused design systems that would be owned by different teams and that would come together to form Encore. Since then, I've seen this approach referenced in multiple different blog posts and conference talks. Internally, it's become known as the onion model because it got lots of layers, and this diagram gets shared all the time. We talked about the complex landscape that Encore operates in and what we need to serve, the large number of platforms, huge number of consuming designers, engineers. And we were not the first design system at Spotify, so we had to deal with and clean up a legacy of 22 existing systems. And on top of addressing all of that complex landscape, we had to build a system that would work for Spotify's sort of famed culture of autonomy. So that was then. What about now? So coming back to today, 4 years is a long time. A lot of stuff has happened. A lot of things have changed. What are you doing with a can of Coke? Oh, okay, just checking. It's just a little weird that you're standing there holding a Coke. Yeah. So as a company, Spotify has grown and it's changed significantly over that time. The company has scaled considerably since Encore's initial launch. Our internal structure has changed several times, and our R&D organization has grown in size, meaning the number, we now have to support even more people using the system. The landscape we operate in has also changed and increased in complexity. Spotify is now an audio platform, so we need to support multiple content types, podcasts, audiobooks, as well as multiple brands, Spotify for artists, Spotify for podcasters, and our ad sales platform. We've got platforms that support multiple modes, car mode, large text modes for accessibility. And on top of all of that, if all of that wasn't complex enough, we have to make all of that work in 74 different languages. Fun. So we know the built-in complexity has enabled autonomy to some degree. But as Encore has gained traction and adoption and popularity scaled across the organization, we found we needed to encourage more standardization in order to achieve better cohesion in our experiences. This was most apparent in the mobile space. So back in 2019, Encore Consumer Mobile started as a system focused on customer-facing mobile experiences. So think Spotify app on your phone. The system needed a lot of flexibility. These teams move really fast. They build new components and new features really quickly. They operate at a really high level of specificity, get that word right, building really feature-specific components. And after a few years, we kind of realized that this strategy had kind of run its course a little bit. We realized a lot of the components that were being built in the consumer mobile system were so specific that they couldn't be reused and they couldn't be shared. This kind of pointed to the need for there to be a centrally managed, stable collection of building blocks for our mobile system. Something maybe following a more traditional design system approach, maybe something similar to how our web system was working. So at the beginning of last year, we created a new team and a new product, Encore Mobile, a new system that would become a home for generic mobile components. Within Encore Mobile, we actually have 2 implementations. We have one native implementation for iOS, one native implementation for Android. As you can expect, as a bunch of design system people, all of these components, they bake in holistic design decisions, accessibility, localization. They're designed to be flexible and configurable. The components here can be built on top of, configured, and used for the various different use cases of the consumer mobile product, but also beyond to our other native apps. Introducing this new system, Encore Mobile, gave us the opportunity to evolve our approach that we were taking to building Encore. And we committed to a new approach aimed at achieving parity between the components we offered with Encore Web and the components we offered with Encore Mobile. And that's what I want to talk about today. That was a really long-winded way of getting to that point. Our approach to building cross-platform design systems consists of 2 main themes: adaptive design tokens and cross-platform components. And I'm going to kind of dig into both of these now. So first up, adaptive design tokens. It would be really rude to have a design system meetup talk and not talk about design tokens. So here we go. Way before we decided to shift a focus to cross-platform parity, we'd already solved this at a token level with some semantic color theming that we introduced in 2020. These color themes were designed to work across platform, and we successfully implemented them in iOS, web, and in Android. As a team, we moved away from manually managing color tokens in JSON files and towards algorithmic token generation. So our algorithm would take 7 input values, do a whole load of magic in the middle, and then it would output a color theme which consists of over 290 color tokens. We have 11 themes, so some quick math will tell you that that's over 3,000 generated tokens. Might seem like a lot, don't worry, we hide all of that complexity away from customers. Most of these tokens are the same names, they've just got different values or a different color set. The algorithm automatically adjusts the color values to be compliant with WCAG color contrast guidelines, so we can ensure color contrast with the color themes. And the output from this generation is transformed into deliverables for web, iOS, and Android, and is now pushed into Figma variables using their new REST API, so we can keep all 4 of these platforms in sync and pulling from the same source of truth. And this project has really kind of revolutionized the way that we work with color at Spotify. It's changed how we talk about color, how designers and engineers use and apply color. We've eliminated the need for manual color contrast checks. And for us system maintainers, we work with this in a completely different way. So coming back to our new goal of cross-platform parity, we started to ask ourselves, can we take these same concepts of semantic token schemas, algorithmic token generation, and apply that to the way we manage layout? So at Spotify, we take a mobile-first approach to designing new features. We will typically design, test, validate any new feature on mobile before it gets implemented on the other platforms. And when a new feature is ready to be implemented on another platform, we typically see designers and engineers manually redesigning, re-engineering features on like per platform, per device. And in our research, we hear from designers and engineers about the challenges that they have scaling designs and features between platforms, devices, and modes. For example, they talk to us about the challenges that they have sharing designs between TV and desktop, or how they're struggling with the requirements of specific modes, like the challenges of scaling typography in the car mode where everything needs to be enlarged. So taking that feedback from our customers, expanding and our experience building cross-platform design token systems, and this new goal of cross-platform parity, we begun investigating and designing what a new scalable layout system might look like. We looked extensively at all aspects of layout. We held a series of workshops with designers from across the company to gather their input, crucially, to gather their specialist knowledge of the nuances of the different products and platforms. We developed a whole bunch of prototyping tools that allowed us to test, really sort of stress test the proposal, validate that our new layout algorithm would scale to behave as we expected it to. These tools allowed us to tweak the input values and in real time kind of see the effects applied to the design and this little scaly graph that's going on. And the result was a set of adaptive design tokens that scale seamlessly to fit based on device, platform, or mode. They increase cross-platform consistency. They remove the need for this like manual, repetitive work of redesigning and re-engineering components between experiences by baking in specific considerations for different platforms and modes. So as with our color theme system, we provide our new layout algorithm, 14 base input values, and on the outside of it, we get 45 semantically named tokens returned. It ranges from text sizes, border widths, spaces, to graphic and control sizes. And when applied to our components, these new adaptive tokens handle the heavy lifting of scaling between platforms and modes and devices. The rules defined within the algorithm are derived from the mathematical relationship between the UI elements in Spotify's products and experiences. As this is powered by an algorithm, for us system maintainers, we don't have to worry about managing and maintaining hundreds of individual layout tokens across devices and platforms and modes that we support. If we need to add a new one, we've only got to worry about adding 14 base input values. Here's a little demo of how these layout themes enable cross-platform parity without the need for manual resizing or creating specs. So in this example here, Chad, a designer working on Encore, shows how you can adapt a mobile design into a desktop design in a matter of seconds. There's no need to disconnect anything, swap files or libraries. It's all super seamless and happens in the same file. So here we're kind of combining the power of this scalable layout system that we've built with the power of Figma's new variable functionality. So we drop it in and it all resizes and does wonderful things. So that's the first part of the puzzle. The second part of our approach is cross-platform components. So when we started building Encore Mobile, we were starting from scratch. We knew we had to build a lot of components. We knew we were going to repeat the same process kind of over and over again. So we created our design system workbook, and this documents all the steps that we go through when designing a new component, what's required at each step, and who needs to be involved. Speaking of who needs to be involved, each component that we build is worked on by a cross-discipline working group with designers, engineers from web, iOS, Android, all working together to define the requirements of this new component. We established a set of repeatable steps to understand customers, define requirements, and build an API that will work across design, web, iOS, and Android. And since we're all working together on this from the start of the process, it's efficient, it's inclusive of all disciplines and platforms. So for example, there is specific points in the process for audits to happen and be conducted on each platform. That information is then combined and helps inform the next step of the process, helping us further refine the input for each specific platform. Similarly, a prototyping phase allows engineers to investigate any potentially sort of challenging requirements that might arise, which might affect the final component like specification or design. So with the prototyping phase, we've discovered cases where features are just impossible to build on a certain platform, or even in a couple of cases found cases where we just get this functionality for free on maybe on Android, for example. So the first component family we designed and built using this cross-platform process was cards and list rows. When you look at the Spotify experience, you can see that around 80% of the interface is made up of cards and list rows. So focusing on these components, like as a design system team, gives us a huge amount of coverage. So here, rows are in green and the cards are in pink. You can just about see some cards on the mobile layout, just hiding behind the now playing bar. So following this cross-platform process, we concluded that we needed to build 3 components, in fact, box, card, and list row. So box is a foundational component. It contains shared styling and behavior between cards and list row. It's also possible to use box as a standalone component for cases where you want to build something custom, but that it's stylistically similar to a card or a list row. So if we think back to the previous slide, here, there's this little Trevor Noah card thing. It's not a card, this little Trevor Noah thing. This is a great example of a component that's sort of stylistically similar to a card, but it's not exactly a card or a list row, and they've been able to use this box component to get a bunch of functionality out of the box. Cards and list rows are built on top of box, and each serve a specific purpose. So cards prioritize large artwork, visual media over scannability, and list rows do the reverse. They prioritize scannability over large artwork and visual media. Breaking this problem down in this way and constructing it in this way means that any team wanting to build a highly customized component can at least get something out of here. Like, they don't have to start from scratch just because we don't have the exact thing that they need. So looking into the internals of this component and the architecture inside, we define a series of content areas which we call slots that can be configured to whatever the component calls for. The slots are named using product and content agnostic terminology, and that's aligned across design and code. The slot structure supports kind of anything that we need the consumer application to do, but also beyond that into some of our other applications and experiences. So during the kind of discovery auditing phase, we found 32 different row components that existed today. And we were able to consolidate all of them with this single component. So really demonstrating the flexibility of what this component provides. Here's a bunch of examples of how list row can be configured. So you can see here, there's a lot of built-in flexibility. It can suit different content types, different layouts, different content densities. Another step in the cross-platform in this process is cross-platform API design. So here the goal is to align technical architecture and API design across platforms whilst acknowledging the nuance of each platform. We want to share context on naming conventions, prop names, platform specifications, accessibility, localization requirements, so that we can all align on what it is we're supposed to build. When it comes to naming, we try our best to adopt a platform agnostic naming approach. However, we're not dogmatic about it. We try and align by default and wherever we can, and we only deviate when it makes sense. These deviations typically occur in places where there is a strong existing platform convention that we don't want to override. So a few examples of that. This one actually happened like this week, last week. And it was in a discussion around what do we name our token that controls corner radius? We'd previously always called it border radius. Maybe that's some bias from the web developers working on the token system. However, after discussing it with the iOS engineers conducting a little bit of research, we found out that web's the only place that refers to this as border radius. Everywhere else, iOS, Android, Figma, all call it corner radius. So we made the decision that we're going to adopt a platform agnostic naming, and we called it corner radius instead. Another example would be how we name components. So the first component we built in Encore Mobile was the text component. On the surface, simple component, renders some text given a given type style. Here, the conventions on Android and Figma were to call this text. You could argue web doesn't really have a convention because of the nature of how HTML and CSS interact. But on iOS, there was a really strong platform convention that already existed, where this type of component was called a label. So we decided in this instance, it makes sense to deviate for iOS and maintain the name label. This avoids the need for us to train and educate hundreds of iOS developers that they need to use a text component when they want a label. So the pattern is documented everywhere as text, but in code for iOS, it's called label. It's working really well. Like, we've not seen any friction with the fact that it's got a different name. Like, works well. It's what the iOS engineers expect to see. This stuff is really hard. It takes a lot of time, a lot of back and forth to reach a conclusion. This absolutely huge FigJam shows the level of discussions that we have around naming. I zoomed out as far as you can zoom. There's a limit, apparently. That's only half of what is in. There's like another half of this FigJam file. There's some really detailed stuff in here around platform-specific conventions, what can and can't work on different platforms, and the considerations we need to make around naming, all these things that we have to think about. One of the key cross-platform API decision we made was to introduce multiple layers of abstraction into our components. This way we can provide as much utility as possible out of the box, but still giving people the option to modify components or even construct their own using the individual pieces. So we offer 3 different levels, starting with configuration. A consuming engineer is just simply passing some data as props. You give us the data, we'll worry about how that gets rendered. This represents probably the most common way we expect people to use the component. The use of slots allows subcomponents to be passed as a prop. Technique is great for when you want to make a small modification. In this example, we got a round image, slightly different shape. And the final example is for a full custom approach. This is where a subcomponent and additional styles are all managed by, I don't know, a feature team, whoever's building this thing, and we just provide a base. So in this example, we're passing in a custom footer with maybe some complex behaviors. Here's how them same examples translate to code. So in this example, I'm showing some React and TypeScript code from Encore Web, but Encore Mobile exposes similar APIs for iOS and Android. So our most common use case, again, we're just simply passing some props to the component. For the slotted approach, we're passing in a custom image component, which has got like shape rounded on it. And for the entirely custom use case, we pass, I can't even see what we do. We just pass all of our own components inside card. There's some really great articles on the Spotify engineering blog about this, where our engineer Charlie, who worked on developing this approach, he goes into way more detail than I have. But putting all of that together, we get some cross-platform components out the other end. So here you can see demos of our card component working across Figma, iOS, Android, and web. Each platform has the same configurations, the same properties, naming is aligned, but with different defaults set for web and mobile based on what makes sense for that platform. So hopefully that gives you some insight and overview into how we're approaching building cross-platform design systems at Spotify. It's a bit of a journey. We're continuing to experiment, try new things. We don't always get it right. We make mistakes and things don't work, but we're factoring those failings in and continuing to evolve. We're really excited about what we're doing and the path that we're on. I want to leave you with a few closing thoughts. I've been working in design systems for 10 years now. And I think as a community, we tend to focus a lot on web. Almost all the content that we read is about building design systems for web. I think there's a huge opportunity for us to start talking more about cross-platform design systems, building design systems for native platforms. I come from a web development background, and over the last few years, I've had so much fun learning about building design systems on iOS and Android. It's fascinating to learn the differences and the challenges of building for iOS and Android, but equally interesting to learn about all the places where native is similar to web. The scale that we're building for, it makes this stuff much harder. Everything takes a lot longer. There's way more discussions that need to happen. Sometimes feels like we're moving really slowly. And even though we're solving very similar design system problems to everybody else, we found that we have to think about them in a slightly different way as a result of the scale. So an example, like it's not feasible for us to manage over 1,000 layout tokens manually across all of these different platforms. We had to invest in automation and algorithm to make it work at our scale. You might not need to worry about those same things. Just because we're building with algorithms, it doesn't mean that you also need to do that in order for your design system to be successful. We talk a lot about the idea of taking the pain in our little corner of Spotify. We consider ourselves to be a platform team, and it's our responsibility to take the pain for customers, to take away complexity for designers and engineers, so they don't have to think about that. They can just focus on building great products. Remember, we have different goals to our customers. We're solving different, related, but different problems. They adopt a feature mindset. We adopt a platform mindset. And I want to end by saying that none of this is possible without close collaboration between design and engineering. At Spotify and in Encore, we believe this is fundamental to our success. It's our team's superpower. As you can see from the work that I've shared today, it's this seamless, fluid combination of different perspectives that these disciplines bring to the table that makes this successful. Designers are in code, engineers are in Figma. We're all trying to understand each other's points of view. So thank you for listening. I want to give a massive shout out to the team working on Encore. Everything I shared today was their incredible work. I'm just here to show you all and tell you a story. If you have any questions, come and find me. I'm happy to chat. For those folks who are online, feel free to reach out with your questions, and be sure to follow Spotify Design on Twitter and Instagram. Keep an eye out on our blog where we'll share more about what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shaun. That was super inspiring. And yeah, I think there is a lot of relatable content there, especially around naming and how hard naming is. But yeah, no, really interesting approach around the config slots, etc. Does anyone here have any questions for Shaun that they would like? Oh, yeah.
How do you work with accessibility in this setting? You mentioned the concept,
I'm just going to repeat for folks online. So they're asking here in the audience around accessibility. So how they work with accessibility at Spotify.
That's such a good question. I'm really, really passionate about accessibility. We have a dedicated accessibility team at Spotify, and we work really closely with them throughout that kind of process that I showed of the different steps that we go through. Accessibility, we're kind of bringing them into them conversations. And we kind of believe in it so much that 2 weeks ago, restructured and made the accessibility team part of the design system team. So they now sit with us and they are involved in all of these kind of conversations that we're having while developing components. They're really, really smart bunch of people who care about accessibility so much. So we're super lucky to have them.
Thank you so much. I'm also a huge advocate for accessibility, so it's super great to hear. We have lots of questions from the Miro board. Would you like to choose anyone? There's one with a lot of votes there. Does Spotify, that one there, does Spotify document their design system in Figma?
Yes and no. Would you say, Tiago? Do we document the design system in Figma? Not really. I think we have a documentation website which kind of covers all of that. We will push everybody to the documentation site. For us, we consider code the source of truth. I will fight anybody who tells me that code should not be the source of truth. Me and Tiago over here have had many conversations about it, and he has yet to convince me. But yeah, we push everybody to the documentation site where possible.
Are you okay to take one more? Yeah, we'll do one more. How does Spotify measure the impact or, I think, adoption of the DS or the design system?
We have a pretty extensive suite of analytics, so we can see exactly where the design system is being used, where it's not being used. That's maybe a little bit more advanced on mobile than it is for our web system. So we can use that to understand, like, is the system being adopted? We also have quarterly engineering and design surveys that go out, and we've made Encore a part of them surveys. So we find out, we get feedback on like customer satisfaction on the survey every quarter, and we kind of use them as kind of key metrics. So the things that we're kind of caring about is 3 metrics, maybe 4. Is coverage. Do we have the right things in the system? Adoption, is it being used? And satisfaction, and we get that from the surveys.
Thank you so much, Shaun. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right. Nope. We are going to take a quick break.
Yeah.
Do you want to share?
So we are very good on time. Swedish people are very efficient. So we can take a short break in a second. I just wanted to show you the Miro board. So there's a lot going on here. Let me quickly zoom out. And this is all live. So yeah, so many people are joining us here from all around the world. Hello from Sweden to everyone attending online. Okay, let's have a 10 minutes break. So see you in 10 minutes. And please don't leave. We have more amazing content from Deborah from Atlassian, and we also have Manuela. So please don't leave. We will see you in 10 minutes.
Hello to everyone in the chat. There is 600 of us online hanging out, which is so cool to see. So welcome to everyone who was a bit late joining. I'm going to grab all of the links and post them in the chat. Hopefully I remember to post them to everybody at the beginning. If you join late, I did the human thing where I thought I was posting to everybody, but I was only sending it to the presenters. So we're all human. We're all doing it together. If you're late, this is the link to the Miro board. We're looking at the map on where they're sharing now. So you can go in and drop a comment there where you are, how we can see you and network with you online. If people in your neighborhood you didn't know, there's a lot more people that are into what we're into once we figure out how to find them, which is so cool. It's also the space where we're gonna leave questions for the speakers. So they're having a hard time hearing us. So far, we've been pretty lucky to hear them with just a couple of hiccups. But I mean, it wouldn't be the first time doing anything if it ran smoothly, would it? Yes, any of the questions that came in through the Q&A, through Zoom, I screenshotted those and I put them in the Miro board. And we've asked all of the speakers to take some time after to go in and try to answer questions so that we can grab them. We're trying to keep up as fast as we can, but 600 is a big number of y'all online, so. If you're having trouble with the Miro board, there was a couple of folks who messaged. I'm not super familiar with Miro either, and I find it a bit counterintuitive to what I'm used to in Figma, although the C still gives you the comment feature, just like it does in FigJam. Or up on the left-hand side, there's a toolbar there underneath the arrow and then the pen, there's a little comment feature, so you can use that. And then on the left-hand menu there, underneath the T is like a sticky note. You can grab a sticky note as well. And it should be such that you can just paste a link to your LinkedIn or something like that if you want to add it in the networking board. Ooh, how do you comment in Miro on mobile? I think you're very brave for trying it on mobile. Is there a toolbar that has the same sort of icons, perhaps? I think I've never worked on a team that required this many people to be in a board at one time. So FigJam always did the job, but I know when we get more than a few hundred people in a FigJam, it starts to not perform so well. So. It is a bit like, could FigJam support 600 people? I don't know. Maybe there should be a design systems hackathon where we all come up with the best introvert-friendly conferencing software that allows people to collaborate in mass. That'd be kind of fun. Ooh, we want to get Miro to talk the next time so that we can talk to them about the UX and they can see it in real time. I love that idea. I love that idea. If anyone knows anybody at Miro, feel free. And speaking about getting people to participate online, we have announced officially the big online conference. It's happening in May this year. And we very quickly put together a sneaky little open submission form. So if you've had a brilliant idea about something that you think someone else could benefit from, we really want to hear about it. And I can tell you, as somebody who presented last year on a design team of one pro tips, which was really sort of basic things about how to survive as a design team of one. And I was presenting after the Token Studio team launched all this amazing, innovative technology. It still went over really well. So if you're feeling hesitant or you feel like, maybe people don't want to know or don't want to hear, I'm here to tell you that they do, and we want you to share. So if you have any ideas, please feel free to throw your hat in the ring. We want to hear all sorts of different stuff. Next talk should be starting in around 5 minutes or so. So if you want to stretch your legs, I want pizza now. They're talking about pizza and I want pizza. How long is the early bird price for? That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that, but let me find out when Syl is back. I'll ask them and get them to confirm. Ooh. I feel like you got to get corporate to approve the budget on it. So should we just tell your boss it's only good for like 48 hours and then they have to rush the approval? Okay, Syl says we're going to be back online in four minutes. Yes, I will post the link to all the things for you guys in the chat. Okay, this is a good icebreaker for the next 3 minutes in the chat. We will judge the Swedish pizza. So I'm in Canada. We have something called the Canadian pizza, and it has pepperoni, Canadian bacon, green pepper, and mushrooms. That's what we call a Canadian pizza. Tomato sauce, mozzarella cheese, normal stuff. So curious if there's any other regional pizzas. Oh, I've had poutine pizza. It's pretty good. Oh, I love all the Canadians. You guys go put yourself on the map on the mural board so I can go in and find you after, okay? That'd be awesome. There's no bad pizza, Matthew. I'll have none of that. We don't shame anyone's pizza. What's the difference between Canadian bacon and UK bacon? Canadian bacon is what they call back bacon. It's from a different part of what we normally have the regular bacon from. There's no bad pizza toppings, just like there's no bad designers, right? Right? I'm loving you guys in the chat here. You're giving me life. Do the pigs say A in Canada? I don't know. It's a good question. I need to go hang out at a farm more often and I'll report back. Oh, mac and cheese pizza in Brooklyn sounds great. You're on a diet, so diet pizza. If you put a lot of vegetables on your pizza, then you technically could call it salad. And if your pizza crust was made of cauliflower, which is a thing, then you're really eating healthy pizza, right? All right, friends, we're back. See you soon. Couple of minutes. Hopefully we'll have another break after this talk, and we'll see you soon.
I would like to continue. We have way more to share from our great speakers have more to share. We have 2 more amazing talks.
Competing with pizza now.
I'm competing with pizza, but do you want to see Atlassian's design system? Everybody is like a fan of, at least I am. So if you want, please sit down. If you want to see it, you're just fixing the cooling. Oh, that was close. Yes. Just entertainment. Okay, Andressa, do you want to introduce our next speaker? Please sit down and let's go with more amazing talks.
Alrighty. Did you enjoy your pizza? Yeah. Cool. So I have a question for you and for the folks online as well. Has anyone here had the challenge? We spoke about challenges before, but and Spotify have this amazing algorithm, but have you ever tried to set up or define your dark mode for the products that you're working with? Yeah, easy job. Yeah, right. So our next speaker actually was brought into Atlassian today with this very simple challenge to be done in a couple of days. Yeah, couple of months. Yeah, so that's how she got into, and I'm speaking about Deborah, who works for Atlassian, and it's part of their design system team, and she will be telling us all about her journey and how they are redefining their foundations. So yeah, delighted to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll pass it on to Deborah. Cool.
Thank you for that introduction, and thanks for having me. I'm Deborah Lindberg, lead product designer in the Atlassian design system team. I joined the team about 4 years ago, and yes, I was brought on to design dark mode in 3 months. And after a couple of weeks, it was very clear that it would take a lot more than a couple of months. So yeah, I'm still here, but my role has changed slightly since I joined. Yeah, a little bit about me. I live in Sydney, Australia, with my family of 3. I'm originally from Stockholm, Sweden, so it's extra nice to be here tonight on my home turf. But I had a baby about 9 months ago, so I'm on maternity leave. It's very nice to have a break and talk to grown-ups for a little bit. So thank you for that as well. We're returning back to Australia in a couple of weeks, which is going to be really nice because it's a little bit warmer there right now. Enough about me. Tonight, I'll be sharing a little bit about the Atlassian design system. I'll give you a high-level introduction about our mission. Then we'll dive into what our UI foundations are and what we are doing to them in the near future. I'll share a little bit about our team structure and how we work, and then we'll wrap up with some lessons learned. If you're not familiar with Atlassian, you might recognize one of our flagship products, Jira, Confluence, or Trello. These products are all created using our design system. We empower teams to design, develop, and deliver Atlassian user interfaces at scale. And the scale we're talking about is 18 plus products. We also have a large undefined number of platform teams building experiences that are shared across these different products. And on top of that, we have a large ecosystem of vendors also building apps and experiences on top of our products. So you can see that we have a mix of Atlassian internal designers and developers, whom we call makers. So whenever I refer to makers, you know that I'm talking about our designers and developers. And then we have that external audience as well. So if you ever end up on Atlassian.design, you can have that in mind, that we have that dual audience of both Atlassian internal and external. And for those of you snooping around our Figma community files, those are primarily for our external audience, but we strive to have those files there as a one-to-one match to what we have internally, so we can enable everyone that are building with our design system equally. All our products are part of what we call a branded house. This means that all our products are clearly branded Atlassian, so they share the same look and feel. And that look and feel is defined by our UI foundations. And before we dive into what exactly our UI foundations are, I just want to high-level mention a couple of challenges we've had with them over the years. So the first one is that our foundations has not been meeting the needs of our makers. So there are so many needs that we haven't been able to meet. The first one that I was brought on was when I was brought on to Atlassian was about the color system. So we had a massive need from a lot of the products to deliver dark mode, but our color system just simply didn't cut it. We also have heard quite recently that our products look very consistent, but consistently outdated. Ouch. And that's another need that we're not really meeting. We have a lot of designers within Atlassian really working hard to improve the appearance of our product. So I think that's another need that we can improve on. The next one, we're missing some essential foundations. We have designers and developers across the company making foundational design decisions every day, but they don't have any assets or guidance. So we end up with a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of design and tech debt that leads to a lot of maintenance cost, and it's just simply duplicate efforts. So I think we can do better there as well. And last but not least, we've been significantly behind the industry when it comes to our infrastructure. So it's been really hard for us to meet the needs and the demands of our products, with our color system being like the first foundation we tackled, where we managed to take on design tokens as well. So this is super high level about the challenges we've had with our system. Let's talk about what our UI foundations are and will be. The definition we have today is that our UI foundations are the smallest building blocks of our design system. These building blocks contain small, repeatable design decisions that are essential across multiple of our products. And when they're put together, they create UI that feel familiar, cohesive, and part of a family. So that branded house that I mentioned earlier. We see that each foundation form a mini system, but together they're all part of a more complex system. Our UI foundations, they define the look, the feel, and the character of our products. And when we look into the future, we imagine our foundations being split into 3 different groups. And those groups are styles, behavior, and humanity. So this is a little bit different from what we have today. Let's have a closer look at our styles. So if you navigate to Atlassian.design and go to our foundations page, that is more or less quite similar to this list here. So in this group, we have everything defining the look of our product. We're thinking about colors, elevations, grid, iconography, motion, spacing, shapes, and typography. In our second group that we're imagining is everything that defines the feel. So interaction and loading. In our last group, humanity, it's everything that defines the character of our products. So accessibility, internationalization, personalization, and customization. So if we zoom out a little bit and look at all of this, this is kind of how we imagine the future. We're not there yet. I want to make that super clear. But when we think about the foundational building blocks that you need to put together really great UI, these are the building blocks we see. And we already see designers and developers across the company making a lot of foundational design decisions on this level that we think we can provide from a central point, and we can distribute that and make everyone kind of reuse the same. And that, I guess that's the value of a design system. Some of this work has recently been shipped. So we have recently shipped color, elevations, and spacing to general availability, which is a massive success for our team. And the color and elevation and spacing, you find that on Atlassian.design and in our Figma community files as well. So now mentioned the what we're working on. So now I'll share a little bit about how we're working as a team. So whenever we pick up a new foundation, we don't know exactly what shape it will take. We have a general idea, but we do have some guiding principles to help us make design decisions along the way. The first one is that we want our foundations to be evergreen. We want to make sure that we have continuous evolution built in. We've been in a situation where we haven't been able to evolve our system, and we don't want to be there ever again. So we're thinking about that as we're crafting the new foundations, that we want to make sure that we can evolve it as we need to in the future. Our second principle is that we want to be platform agnostic. We are scaling our system into a platform that serves other local systems, like Shaun was just talking about at Spotify. We're not quite there yet, but we're on our journey to get there. As a part of that, we want our foundations to be available for web, iOS, and Android. The third one, design and code parity. We want to empower all crafts equally through parity between design and code. And we want to have parity between what's available to designers in Figma to what's available to developers in code. And we want to have that because that creates a shared language, and we believe that the collaboration between them will be a lot better. The fourth one, empowering for everyone. We want to empower the creation of UI so that people of all abilities across the world can use our products. So this is about us providing foundations so that the teams can put together UI that is accessible and available in different languages. And the last one, foundational yet flexible. So our foundations should support multiple use cases. We don't allow for any like one-off custom things in our foundations. And we want the look and feel to be part of that Atlassian branded house. So when you use our foundations, you will end up with a product looking like a part of that family. We don't strive for consistency's sake, but we want to enable composability and flexibility by providing sensible defaults. So we still want to have that nice balance between getting something that's coherent, but also quite flexible for designers and developers to use. So let's dive in and talk a little bit about the team. So when I joined the team about 4 years ago, we were one team. But we have since shifted into a mission-based model where we have 4 sub-teams. 2 of them are focused on our UI foundations, 1 team focused on accessibility, and another one focused on maker experience. These teams are all cross-functional, just so you all know that. But we still see ourselves as one team at large. We share a lot of capabilities, such as enablement and adoption, making sure our system is enterprise grade. We also share the load of service and support. And then we have a tight leadership structure spanned across the team, where we have a balance of managers and craft leads. And then, of course, you're wondering, where do I sit in this org? I'm about here. So I'm kind of like squeezed in between. And let's have a closer look, and I will walk through how these 2 teams operate. The 2 UI foundations teams that we have, they have completely separate missions. The first one focusing on the work on our color system, theming, design token infra. The second team focused on spacing, typography, and things that are sizing related. They don't have much overlap when it comes to the scope, because that makes them more autonomous and they can move a lot faster and ship to our makers quicker. We usually talk about our team operating on slightly different Zoom levels, where the teams themselves are on the lowest level, really focused in on the details. Then at that top level, we have the Atlassian design system leadership, where we have a bunch of craft leads looking at the vision, mission, and strategy for our team as a whole. How do we fit in with Atlassian? Where is Atlassian going? Where are we going? And kind of steering the ship for this system as a whole. Then I kind of sit in between. I'm focused on the UI foundations, but I'm not in the weeds. I'm looking at the vision, the future, the strategy, and then kind of helping the teams navigate so that they go in the same direction as the system as a whole. And I thought if I would share some, if we wanted to go deeper, I could share our Jira backlog and how we structure our work, but I'm going to skip that today. And we'll dive straight into some lessons learned that I like to call some proud moments. The first proud moment for me is that our team is now shipping designs to code early and often. When I joined the team 4 years ago, we had that one big team, and we had designers on the team that had never shipped anything to code. We worked in silos, designers completely separate from engineers. But through the creation and the rollout of our color system and dark mode, we were basically forced to collaborate really closely together with our engineers. So that has now become our default way of working, because it is the only way to get things done. A recent example of our team shipping designs to code is when we just released dark mode to Jira. I think it was 6 months ago. And the team had released the first version to an open beta. It was the first time we really stress tested our dark mode, and we started to get a lot of feedback that our dark mode was too dark. Yeah, very funny. And then we had to kind of do some redesigns and figure out how to solve that problem. And once we had figured out the design changes we wanted to make, it took the team 5 days to get those changes implemented and rolled out across all of Jira. And if you've ever used Jira, you can imagine how many abandoned corners there are. So 5 days is super impressive. So from having gone from not shipping anything to shipping stuff in 5 days is pretty remarkable. Another, and this is going to be the last proud moment, but we now have a clear vision as well. So yeah, I've mentioned just super high level that you can understand part of like the mess we've gone through, but going from like not collaborating at all to being really close and collaborating. And that has to do a lot with that we now have a clear vision, and it's very clear what we are working on, and that we are focusing on going smaller to go bigger. That's kind of how we say it, that we're focusing on providing those foundational building blocks and doing that really well. And even though a lot of things have changed in the world, like the tech world at large, also within Atlassian, things have changed, our vision still remains the same. And that's really nice, because we know if things change tomorrow, our vision will still be the same, because we still need to get this done. And I want to wrap up this talk with showing our vision video. So we use this video to share our vision, but also to hype up the team that's working on all the foundations to make this vision come to life. Here we go.
The language we all speak is Atlassian design. It's woven into all of our experiences and has changed as much as Atlassian itself. Like any language, it adapts, and the next evolution is here. After 10 years in the making, we're reimagining Atlassian design system. We're constellating the elements of our language to evolve with us, making Atlassian design system the cornerstone of crafting quality interfaces that are unmistakably Atlassian. Constellating starts by establishing a stronger foundation. Every design decision is now expressed with design tokens and modular building blocks that are easier to use and configure, empowering developers and designers to create seamless, beautiful experiences better and faster. Every part of the system works together harmoniously by supporting accessibility, performance, and consistency from the ground up. All designers and developers have the power to co-create inclusive, accessible, and on-brand experiences that meet our world-class standards. Atlassian Design System is built to be empowering for everyone who relies on it. We're giving you the tools and freedom you need to create and manage your own local systems. Building your experiences with the design system as the base ensures that we continuously evolve and scale our design language efficiently and harmoniously. Because ultimately, Atlassian Design System is what we create together as a community. As our system of systems multiplies, so does the potential of every team. We all can't wait to see what you make next.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love that video. And I really love that you shared the proud moments. I think it's super important that we celebrate the win-ins, because we all know what the journey is like. Building, establishing, maintaining, and keeping the energy up when it comes to design systems. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And your slides are absolutely stunning. Cool. Anyone has any questions here for Deborah? Debs? The Debs? Anyone in the audience? Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm just going to repeat just for the folks online. So what's your name? Matilda. Matilda was asking how Deborah works with what the collaboration looks like with developers. Is that right? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so we in our team have a shared backlog. So we kind of in Jira, because everyone is asking, are you actually using Jira? Yes, we are. So we have a shared backlog, and then depending on the work, we work like actively together on the thing. So it might be that the engineers jump into Figma and like we collaborate on the specific thing to kind of nut out the details. But it might also be that we have like we don't typically have like a handover where it's like, here you go, go do your thing, because we kind of work together. So it's never like a big thing that pops up, but then there might be things that the engineers then take and like work on independently. So it's kind of like we work just really closely together at a lot of points on that journey. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions from here? Yeah. All right, this is a question from Tiago from Spotify. And he was asking if they build components as well as part of the UI Foundation.
Well, it depends. So we have a lot of components already within the system. We don't actively build a lot of new components. What we do when we roll out that foundations is that the team responsible for that foundation is responsible for updating all the design system components with the new foundation in essence. But we don't really build new components as a part of the work we do in the foundation, because we already have so many, and it's almost like, where should all these components go? So we're kind of also on that journey, trying to become more foundational, where we provide those building blocks, and then the next phase will be figuring out exactly where and how we do with all the components. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Are you okay to take a question from our folks online? Yeah. So there's someone here asking how to get a job as an international non-Swedish speaker at your company. Or just, how to get a job at Atlassian, I suppose.
You apply. I don't know. It's I got in at a weird time because it was like in the beginning of the pandemic, so it was kind of like a big shift in the market at that point. But I think we do have a lot of like, is it non-Swedish? But we work in English, so if you can speak English, that's it. It's a global company. We have designers and engineers all over the world, so there are many locations you can work from, and we work 100% remote. So it's kind of like opens up a lot of flexibilities as well for where you can be located. Yeah.
Good. How do you learn to present at such a high level and with such a level of calm? Yeah, I think we all want to know that. Pro speaker.
I think you come to a place like this where you have a lot of fantastic introverts setting the scene and making a really comfortable space to be in. It's not my favorite thing to do. I was just talking about this earlier. It's not my favorite thing to do, but it's kind of at the border of my comfort zone. So I really enjoy sharing the work we're doing, and I would love to hear, like, I always love to hear from others. So that's kind of like, I feel like I'm talking to myself in a sense, and like I'm comfortable with doing that. So that's kind of how I think when I go up. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge and with such calm with us all. Thank you so much. We have another great talk coming up. And what I really love about this community is that we can get perspectives from really different, I guess, folks, different backgrounds, different industries. So we've had folks from Spotify, from Atlassian sharing what it looks like to work in design systems at maybe a larger scale. But, you know, design systems come in all shapes and forms, and Manuela is here today to share what that looks like working in a small team. And before we started, I asked Manuela if she had any fun facts to share with everybody. And she said she had just a small fact, like very unimportant. She mentioned that once Madonna was her neighbor, as you do, as anyone do. So yeah, that was a pretty fun fact. Made all of our facts very unimportant after that. Thank you so much, Manuela, for joining us.
Was a brief moment, but I like to remember. I have the brilliant idea to bring an iPad with the notes that I had, and I forgot about the mic. And maybe I would, and mic and switching and everything, but I will try it. So thank you, everyone that is here today to take the time to come. I'm going to talk about how design system can help even small teams, because I think it's a little bit of a controversy in the community if should or should not have a design system. So Manuela, I'm a design system at Core, and Core is a small studio that I founded. That I recently founded to help companies achieve design and brand consistent and help them with their workflow through a good brand and design system. I help companies as Toyota, Johnson & Johnson, Esri, and a couple of others throughout my journey. So I'm gonna say, how can design system help small companies? Sorry, I screen. So let's go. Thank you. I'm sorry, yeah. Guys. So let's go. When we hear a design system, our minds go often to big players like material design, carbon design, spectrum, base. And that's why, because it's design system that are well documented and well showcased and serves us as a reference, right? And sometimes people thinks that is a perception that design system are exclusively for large teams. So today I want to debunk this myth that design systems are only suitable for large teams. They are adaptable tools that even small teams can leverage for a significant benefits. So why not now? Why do we hesitate that much? Lack of resources, no buy-in from executives. I know all of you know that. We have no dedicated staff. We definitely have no time. So fear becomes a barrier, especially for startups that are focused on delivery. On startups in early stages, everything is about delivery and prove that the product function. So do I have time and energy to think about that? But let's remember, from the smallest team to the big enterprises, everyone thinks about that and has this doubt. Is now the right time? So I'm gonna say there's no right or wrong here. We are always open to discussion, but my tip for you guys is start anyway. So here's the approach that I use a couple of times during my experience as a consultant. And let me tell you, it did work. It did work with small teams and big teams. The MVP approach. Design system doesn't have to be an overwhelming thing. When we think about design system, often we think about 100 components, documentation, crazy process, but it doesn't have to be that way. We can start small. An MVP approach allows us to start small, prevent scope creep, and iterate based on real user data. I'm gonna give an example of Netflix. Netflix is a giant today. Hawkins, it's like huge. And they started with just 18 components. So it's about focusing on essential components and process for a valuable and lean and strategic approach. This is Luca Orio, that is the design manager of Netflix. And he said that he wish they started even smaller. He said that because we need to remember that what we build, it's gonna be what we will support and what we will maintain. But how should I start? So here I have two examples of ways that we can approach that we can have for MVP design systems. We have the holistic one and the UI library focus one. I know that many of you have seen the second one way more than the first one. With the first one, we need to think about the UI library, the code repository, the documentation, the governance, the metrics, and we need to walk together with everything. So I build a component, I do the documentation, and together with that, I choose a model of governance for that, for my team. Leaving documentation is crucial for governance. And let's face it, governance, it's often overlooked. But it's essential and it involves how. For me, governance, it's pretty much the definition with how. It's how to get feedback, how to collaborate, how to approve changes, how to provide training. This process helped the design system evolve with more people using it and contributing it. And we need governance so our design system can grow with the pace of the company, with the pace of the team, and with the pace of the needs of the product. Choosing a governance model is crucial. It's about allowing everyone to contribute. It's making a system a collaborative effort. Try to make a lean process for people to contribute. Sometimes we try so hard and we build so many rules for people to be able to contribute and collaborate that it gets difficult and people get shy on doing that. Choosing a governance model is crucial. It's about allowing, I said that already. And remember, small groups of components that you build and document will grow with your team and company needs. The design system needs to be a framework that supports expansion and ensures consistency. Consider the design system an investment in the future. It needs to adapt, evolve, to maintain relevance in the ever-changing landscape. And let's face it, we know we are always changing. Design trends change, user needs change. We need our design system and our governance plan to change together. I want to share with you a quick study case. I work with in a project with Toyota, and Toyota wanted to revamp their apps. They have multiple apps all around the globe, and they wanted to unify in a single app. In a single global app. For that, they put together a team of product designers, researchers, art directors, PMs, and a small design system team. And it was amazing until we start working. The product designers wanted to start their designs and they wanted components, but they didn't have visuals. They had some art direction that we could follow that was presented to the board. So we knew that Toyota was bold and round and Lexus was square, was thin. We knew the difference, but we didn't have visuals. And everyone was, please give us component. We need components because we need to do our designs. We need to test it. We need to prove it that it's right. And we told them, okay, we are a design system team. We are here to put into a system the work that you guys done. And then we had the idea to do an approach of a white label because as we didn't have the visuals yet, we transformed that into almost wireframe design system. As soon as they had the visuals, we will implement it, that visuals using design tokens, styles, and do the changes that we need in each component. So what I'm trying to say is always advocate for design system. There's no right or wrong. It's about the approach you take, and especially how your team is invest on it. We need everyone on board, or almost everyone on board to make this ecosystem works. Governance is about managing and controlling system efficiency, setting up process, updates, contributions, and overall effectiveness. Is the key of the growth of a system. To wrap it up, design system offer great benefits even for the small team. It start with a manageable scope, focus on essential and crucial components, and prioritize governance. I know that governance and documentation, it's not like the greatest topic because everyone loves components and foundations, but it definitely it's crucial for the design system to grow and evolve in a healthy way. I want to use a small analogy. I think everyone heard that before. But if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? If we have a system that no one is using, no one is contributing, no one is adopting, is that a design system? I think we know the answer, and the answer is no. So remember, design systems are for people, made by people, and the success of your design system depends on the team's buy-in, usage, nurturing, and adoption. I want to thank you all for the attention, and I'm open to any questions you guys might have.
Thank you so much. Are you okay to take a couple of questions? We have some questions. Anyone here? Oh, yeah.
Thank you again for this presentation. I have a question about governance and documentation, because there are a lot of resources where you learn about tokens and building components, but the boring part and the essential part is usually not there. Usually recommend sometimes.
I'll just repeat for folks online. Yeah, so you're asking what are good resources around documentation and governance. Would that be right? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I think definitely we see as the boring part of it, and we don't see a lot of researchers out there. I think the most important in this approach is to think of the documentation and the governance model as an MVP as well. You don't need to have this complex documentation. You need to have like the crucial things. What is it? How to use it? When to use it? When not to use it? As your system grows, you're going to put more and more information about it. And that's the importance, I think, for documentation. For governance is the same thing. We need to set up a couple of rules. Can be like set up in a meeting. It doesn't have to be like plain in paper and sign up. But it's something that we know that it's going to be the crucial rules, like who is the owner? What is the ownership of this? How can I change it? How can I contribute? Do I make a branch on Figma? Things like small things like that. And we will evolve and grow as our system grows it.
Cool. Thank you so much. There are a couple of questions from the folks joining online. How to convince C-level or top management of a small company that design systems are important? Easy task.
That's so easy. It's really, I've done that a couple of times, and showing results of big companies help a lot. Doing analogies help a lot as well. You can say like, can you survive without all the formulas on your Excel? They probably can't. And design system is pretty much that. We need the design system to build a consistent product. So I think we need to make them understand the value on it. And especially on this point, when I say that it like a small team, we need to talk about using resources that are in-house, using like sprint time that maybe we can like, I know it's hard, but we can do something like that. Maybe find someone that it's really passionate about design system, because this person will definitely find some time to work on that. So I think explaining the value is the most important thing.
Cool. Yeah, no, definitely. And speaking their language, like you said, show the value that matters to them, because they won't be impressed with design tokens. They won't know about it. One more. Some great questions there. Why most of first attempts of creating the design systems fail? I actually really love that question. Do you have any insight?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably it's because we are not thinking about the governance and the documentation. We often go directly to building components, and now we are often thinking about design tokens and how it's amazing and we can change everything, and it's easier. It's a language that we divide with the engineers. But I think two things that we left behind sometimes is governance and documentation, and especially communication with engineers. Definitely, I saw a lot of companies that the design system teams don't even talk to engineers, like they talk once a week, once to 2 weeks. That cannot happen. So communication, a good governance model, and focus on like getting this culture, yes, this synergy between everyone and having everyone on board.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Manuela. And thanks everybody for joining. I think we have just a few more words to say before we wrap up. But yeah, huge thanks, and give up to Manuela, please. Thank you. Yeah, we wouldn't let you go before we plug our conference once again. So would you like to promote and advertise? I'll be hosting, so I hope to see you all there virtually.
Yeah, first of all, thanks so much everyone for attending, for your patience, for sharing all the knowledge, for asking questions. And we didn't know what to expect when we got here, but it was such a fantastic event. You're such a great audience. Thank you so much. We hope to see you soon at our big annual conference. This is how we make these meetups happen. We kind of finance all of our travel expenses and all the meetups with our big annual conference ticket sales. So if you want to learn more about design systems, please come and join us. Andresa will be there hosting. Marco will be there standing for another 5 hours so we can do a live stream. yeah, hope to see you there. And also to all the people online. Yeah, maybe come here, Andressa. We just quickly say goodbye. Thanks for attending. There were hundreds of people in the chat and in the mural board. So we looking forward to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Wow, look at all those faces.
So exciting.
Goodbye to everybody in the chat. Thanks for keeping us comfy and cozy and entertained when we took little breaks. Y'all are awesome. And we hope to see you at the next one.
Feel free to continue interacting in the Miro board. And yeah, thanks everyone for participating. We are very happy to see you around and see you in the next conference.